So in this video, I'm going to talk about our curation project, of which you're going to do one the first semester and one the second semester. So first of all, let's talk about what curation is. So curating is like what a museum curator does when they're trying to determine what items they're going to put on display in the museum when they're going to do like a special exhibit or an exhibit, because they normally have a lot more materials available than they actually have space to put out. So they decide which things are they going to actually put on displays and which ones should be rotated out, as well as what the information plaque actually says for that item. So if they were doing a thing at the museum about King Tut, they would have the opportunity to borrow and acquire a lot of items, and they would decide what their focus should be. So the museum curators do all of that. So you're going to be doing something very similar to that. So the goal of this curation project is going to be to find resources available on the internet that you think are good resources for the various topics that we're going to be studying. And once you've determined what a good resource is, you're going to write a brief description about why you think that specific resource is better than the other ones that you found. So we're going to use Google Sites to do this. I've used other websites in the past, but now Google Site is much easier to use than it used to be. So we're going to use that because then we're all on the Google platform. So when you go to Google and you click on the icon, you can click on one for Google Sites. It will take you to what is known as the old Google Sites platform, which is not where we want to be. And so you're going to want to select new Google Sites. I've shown it right here, but I'm going to walk through it on my account so you can see what I'm talking about. So over here, when you have Google Sites, you're going to have this icon for yourself to click on. And this is the old version. And you see over here on the left-hand side, it says new Google Sites. So you're going to want to click on that. And when you do, you're going to come to a page that looks like all of the other Google opportunities. So I have one here that I'm utilizing in order to show you guys what a site should look like. So I have a curation project that's kind of started, and it has the information. It has a general information page, as well as a physics tab for the first semester and a chemistry tab for the second semester. So when you're selecting resources to put on your page, you're going to want to not pick the exact first resource that comes up when you do a Google search. Your resources should be different from your classmates. If I find that too many resources selected are the same, I'm going to give no credit for them and ask you to find other resources. You can choose anything that's publicly available. So videos, interactives, games, tutorials, articles, reading, songs, it doesn't matter. Now, there are many obvious resources to choose from, like Khan Academy, crash course videos, TED Talks, TED Ed Talks. Physics Classroom is another one that we're going to be using a lot at. You can use one resource for credit throughout the semester from these places. Part of the purpose of this project is for you to start finding some other resources that are helpful, particularly for science. So you are not allowed to use a resource that I've shared in class for credit. If you want to put it on your page, that's fine. I am just not going to give you credit for those particular resources. So try to find resources from varieties of places, and because I really do want you to try to find things that are maybe unique. You might find somebody who explains topics really well and you're like, oh, I really love this person. And you might find that they're very useful to you not only this year, but maybe even next year in chemistry. So you're going to be selecting different websites throughout the semester on various topics that generally coincide with each of the chapters or major topics that we're studying. So choosing sometimes which subtopic within that chapter to focus on is up to you. And for each resource, you are going to need an image and a written explanation as to why you selected this resource and how it relates to the overall topics in the chapter. In order to receive full credit, you really do need to look at the details on the rubric about this, because I have some very specific questions that I want you to answer and a specific number of sentences, because you're basically writing a short paragraph. So, your first assignment is going to end up being due the class period before your Chapter 1 test. And be sure you look at the grading rubric, okay, for details. So the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select your page and get it all set up. And you're going to set up the design for your template. You're going to want a template that has a photo and text with it. So let me show you mine here. So I have a header with a title and information, and then you see each of my resources here have a picture or something that's clickable, as well as a title and a little short paragraph. My paragraphs do not necessarily follow your rubrics completely, because I don't necessarily have as many sentences here. I'm really just trying to give you an idea of the layout, and I'm also putting all of my resources here that I'm using throughout the semester. So you are going to have lots of opportunities for different layouts. You can put there's a number of them over here on the right-hand side, but you do need to have some text. You do need to have a photo. So you have a header, correct template. I set up 2 different pages, one for semester 1, one for semester 2. So that way it starts out more organized. And you're going to want to select your first resource. So your first resource is something for general physics, like why study physics, how does physics improve lives, what kind of topics are covered in physics. So this is some of the information that you're going to have talked about in Chapter 1, which is why the due date is going to coincide with just before your Chapter 1 test. Once you're done with your site, you're going to need to publish it or make it available so I can see it and so I can grade it. So you really have to be sure that you share it with me. So your rubric for the setup is going to be graded on the heading, the template used, that you provided the resource. The first one is on there, and your link is provided to me by the due date. I see here this should actually be 4 lines with 20 points, so I will fix that on your actual rubric. And in addition, I will grade your first resource, and your first resource will be graded with this rubric. Actually, all of your resources will be graded with this rubric. So you're going to have a section about content choice, a section about your grammar and the image, and then the content of your paragraph. So one, I'm really looking for that the setup is good, the picture is good, the title looks good, there's no typos. And then in the second one, I'm going to be really reading what you wrote and ensuring that you have answered the main questions. So with that, you do have a page you have 2 pages. It's actually a front and a back. Curation project description, and it has information about the curation project as well as the rubric. And I will correct the one page that has the wrong number of points. And so you can go ahead and do that. I am looking forward to seeing the great resources that you ladies come up with.